Khamzat Chimaev destroyed Dricus Du Plessis' arsehole. Before I get into that though, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as I have brand new videos every single week. UFC 319 is in the rear view mirror and we saw Khamzat Chimaev finally get his hands on gold. Not one, but two spinning elbow KOs, and MVP and Tim Elliott proving they've still got it. But let's break down the fallout of UFC 319. In the main event, Khamzat Chimaev defeated Dricus Du Plessis via unanimous decision, with all three judges scoring it 50-44 to become the middleweight champion. We all knew Khamzat was going to be champion one day. He came into the UFC like a wrecking ball and there was a lot of hype around him, and it's great to see him finally become a UFC champion. But it wasn't the most entertaining fight. He turned Dricus into a glorified grappling dummy for 5 rounds. He had over 21 minutes of control time. Within the first 10 seconds of each round, he double-legged Dricus and crucify him for the rest of the round, and then maybe transition into a body lock and knee Dricus in the bumhole. And as impressive as it was barely must-see TV. It was fucking boring, almost up there with Rose versus Esparza. But look, if you like watching one man go in another man's ass for 25 minutes, who am I to judge? You do you. But it's not fair to just blame Khamzat for this being a boring fight. Dricus didn't do anything. He couldn't do anything. His best moment was at the end of round 5 when he did seem to rock Khamzat, then stuffed a big takedown and even got in a rear naked choke of his own. But 30 seconds of excitement was not enough. It kinda sounds like my love life.
It's in. Oh my god, it's in.
Technically, Khamzat's body locks, mat returns and transitions were all flawless, but the lack of finish intent made this fight drag out. Bottom line, unless you've got submission threats on the ground like Gilbert Burns did at welterweight, Khamzat is going to drown you. And that's the big problem now. We've got an inactive middleweight champion who may just hold you down for 25 minutes or he'll pull out with the common cold. Middleweight could now be dead. Let's move on from that snooze fest to something a bit down my alley. In the co-main event, Lerone Murphy defeated Aaron Pico in the first round via spinning back elbow. Aaron Pico came in with a lot of hype around him, a big name from Bellator and a co-main event slot for his UFC debut, and the UFC was clearly lining him up for a quick title push, but Murphy scuppered those plans. The first few minutes Pico did look sharp. He threw some big body shots, quick combinations and a couple of takedowns, but Murphy kept scrambling back up and stayed calm, and then out of nowhere, bang, lights out. This just wasn't a highlight reel KO for Murphy. This was Murphy announcing himself as a serious featherweight contender. I was absolutely buzzing. I love it when English lads deliver like that, and you never know, we could see him get a title shot by the end of the year. For Pico though, it's brutal. He joins Pitbull and Patchy Mix on the list of Bellator stars who looked pants in their UFC debuts. The Bellator tick curse strikes again, and it just makes Bellator look like absolute shit. And believe it or not though, we got 2 back-to-back spinning elbows on this card. Carlos Prates defeated Geoff Neal via KO in the first round with a second left on the clock. This couldn't have been timed worse for old Geoff Neal. Early on though, Neal looked pretty decent. He landed some good low kicks, boxed decently and even had Prates backing up at some points, but Carlos played it smart. He invested in body shots, some decent hooks, uppercuts and drew Neal into a tight mid-range fight and folded him like a deck chair. Now let's be real, right? This is the welterweight gatekeeper path. You beat Neil Magny, then you jump up and beat Geoff Neal. They're basically the bouncers of this division. If you get through those 2 guys, you're going to get to jump to the top. And he's already accepted a call out from MVP. Please, Dana, put this fight together. It would be an absolute cracker. And on the topic of MVP, Michael Venom Page defeated Jared Cannonier via decision, with all three judges scoring it 29-28 across the board. Round 1 was classic MVP. He came out with his hands low, showboating, winding Cannonier up and dropping him with a sneaky right hand. And in the second round it was even better. 2 big flash knockdowns, and the speed difference and reach advantage was just too much for Cannonier to overcome. But in the third round, the cracks in MVP's grappling were exposed again. Jared took MVP down, got mount and hunted for a submission, but it wasn't enough. It is amazing though to see MVP performing this well in the UFC at what really is retirement age, but let's not get carried away. He's entertaining for sure, but it's not enough to be a one discipline fighter in the UFC anymore. We've got these waves of young fighters coming into the sport without bases anymore. They're all MMA guys, and MVP just isn't going to be able to hang out with these top well-rounded fighters. He doesn't have what it takes to become a champion in either middleweight or welterweight, but he for sure can continue to make a big name for himself, put on some entertaining fights and make a big pile of cash doing it. And opening up the main card, Tim Elliott defeated Kai Asakura via guillotine choke in the second round. Heartbreaking for Asakura. I really like him. He's a good striker, he's got a fun personality, but in the UFC, if you cannot defend submissions, you're toast. He's just not good enough to be in this promotion, and it's a real shame. So that's the fallout of UFC 319. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the whole card and what your favourite moment was. Thank you everyone for watching. If you can like, comment and subscribe, it really does help the channel out.